with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So I went and saw the new Spider-Man last night, and I haven't seen a Spider-Man since the first Tobey Maguire one. I think I watched like 10 minutes of the second Tobey Maguire one, or the third one, whatever one. He was like a fucking emo, and he was like strutting down the street. I watched that part, and I turned it directly off. I'm like, fuck that. And I'll have to say, I don't know how long ago that was, like 10 years ago, 12 years ago. They have not improved at all. This Spider-Man that everyone's fucking raving about, nerds are raving about, nerds are the only people that like this shit. Fucking nerds, dorks, and dweebs. Even my son was like, what the fuck is going on? He's 5.5. I'm like, I don't know. And I don't really care either. I just want this movie to fucking end. I don't understand what the fucking attraction is to these fucking dork fests. This fucking Spider-Man, the story sucked. The dialogue was fucking almost unlistenable. Like, it's that fast-paced, ironic, like, witty type bullshit. No one even speaks like that. Maybe the people who write it do, the fucking cunts that went to Yale or whatever the fuck they did. But it's just shit. The fucking dialogue's so fucking shit. And there were good actors in it too. Like Jamie Foxx was in it. The cunt played a fucking blind Ray Charles for a whole movie and won an Oscar. And he still could not make the dialogue in this fucking Spider-Man interesting. And the story was so fucking flimsy. Every step of the way, it made basically no sense. Like, every fucking significant turning point was like, why the fuck would he even do that in the first place? Why the fuck would he do that in the first place? And why is he talking like that? But the fucking people in the audience, they were laughing their heads off. And have you ever been at something that is so bad and so shit, so obviously shit, but there's people enjoying it and their joy infuriates you? That's how I spent 2.5 hours in the cinema last night. All these movies are the fucking same. They're all trash. Absolute fucking trash. I think I actually did see the fucking last Avengers. I think I remember seeing it and thinking, this is just for pure fucking nerds. None of it made sense. And I'm not saying it didn't make sense because I didn't watch the previous 9 of the cunts. I'm saying it didn't make sense because nothing in the fucking storyline makes fucking sense. I can just never understand dorks. I really can't. I can't see things through the eyes of a nerd. I just don't understand what they're seeing. I can't fucking see it. And if you're there for the action isn't even that good either. The action doesn't make fucking sense either. Spider-Man makes no fucking sense. What the fuck are the special powers Spider-Man has? Why is he so fucking hard to kill? Spiders aren't fucking hard to kill. You see a spider, it's just sitting there. You might get a little bit of a scare, but once you're over that fucking initial shock, you get your fucking thong off or your flip-flop off and then just crack at one. Fucking squash the fuck out of it. It's not flipping around from wall to wall. Shut the fuck up, Spider-Man. It's infuriating. The most infuriating thing for me, though, was the fucking cheap jokes they had and the fucking whole cinema erupting in laughter. Like, Spider-Man's best friend now is some, like, autistic Filipino kid, and fuck, the crowd love him. Everything he fucking said, they were laughing at. I'm like, can you just shut the fuck up? Anyway, fuck Spider-Man, fuck nerds, fuck dorks. It's Fucked Up Friday. It is the second last Fucked Up Friday of the year, and it is Christmas Eve, the biggest party night of the year for fucking most Australians. I don't know if it's a party night for people in the rest of the world, but fucking Christmas Eve was one of the funnest nights of the year. Christmas Day, not so fun. Christmas Day, you just got to try and get over Christmas Eve. So Fucked Up Friday has fallen directly on one of the best party nights of the year. So let's get straight into this week's Fucked Up Friday. If you want to send in your own fucked up story to be read out on this podcast, email me on boylecomedy@gmail.com or subscribe to the Patreon, skip the line as long as your story's still fucking good. It's £1 a month to support the podcast, keep ads off it, keep Boyle Industries afloat. It's fucking Christmas. Go there, subscribe, buy me a fucking pint. The links are in my social media bios, or just message me, say I want to buy you a pint boil, Merry Christmas, where's the fucking link, and I'll send it directly to you. Anyway, let's move on to this week's Fucked Up Friday. So this week's Fucked Up Friday was sent in by my man Justin Dixon. I don't know whether he wanted his name read out or not, but it's read out now. And Dicko is sending this all the way in from Bellingham, fucking Washington. So let's get stuck into it. Gotta start off by saying that I honestly had nothing to do with this. Also, I've never sold drugs of any kind. That being said, I believe I was 19 or 20 at the time. One of my best friends from high school had the house where his parents didn't really give a fuck about anything. You need those houses growing up. You don't want to be the kid with that house, but you want to be close to the cunt that fucking has that house. So his parents didn't give a fuck about anything. Mum was always working nights as an ER nurse and his dad was a pushover. So we got away with a lot of shit both in and after high school. This was pretty much a side effect of being irresponsible cunts. Anyway, there's a small university in our town of Bellingham, Washington. On the regular, we would go party hopping to allegedly try to sell drugs, fuck some out-of-town broads, and get in the occasional scrap. Fuck, I love a good scrap. I didn't mind a good scrap myself. Anyway, it was just another night of party hopping. A pretty lame one if I remember, and everyone would head back to my buddy JB's house to end the night to smoke weed and crash on the couch. I believe I had work the next day and had my friend drop me off at home after the party. Being the forgetful person I am, I left my backpack in his car. I thought nothing of it and figured I'd just swing by in the morning and grab it. What I didn't think about was the couple of ounces of mushrooms I allegedly had in that backpack, which may have already been split into individual eighths. Out of all the sketchy kids we associated with at the time, there was one crazy fuck that was like 3 or 4 years behind my grade. We'll call him Jack. Jack was already on his way to being a first-class degen at the young age of 16. A small guy, maybe 5'7", about 120 pounds soaking wet, but this kid did not give a fuck. This kid was a skate park rat addicted to Adderall and pretty much anything else. That was the kind of crew that my brother hung out with. Skate park rats that pretty much couldn't skate. No, none of them could skate. They would just do drugs and be fucking little rat cunts around the skate parks and shopping centers and shit like that. That was my brother's crew, if you can call it a crew. So Jack had also started to get into the heroin, which is where most people around my area go off the fucking deep end. Regardless, on this fateful night, Jack thought it was a good idea to get into my backpack and take an alleged eighth of mushrooms without telling anyone. These were fucking strong ones too, seriously. I've still to this day not had stronger shrooms. About 30 minutes after eating the whole eighth, Jack was feeling remorseful, knowing that he had stolen them from me. Apparently at this point, he confessed to everyone at the house what he had done and was starting to freak out a bit. Remember, I was at home asleep and had no clue about any of these events until the following day. I guess as Jack started to come up on his high and confess his wrongdoing, a few of the other shitheads in the house thought it would be a good idea to tell him they had called me and that I was furious. They also told him shit like I was in a gang and I was on my way over to pretty much murder him. That will turn your trip sideways. So after about 20-30 minutes of this, Jack decided that his best bet was to hightail it out of there in the middle of a wind and rainstorm. It was also like 2 a.m. JB's house was a good 1.5 miles from a small shopping centre which had a 24-hour grocery store. Jack had ran all the way there in the pouring rain. Upon reaching the grocery store, stripped down to his boxers and was yelling shit in the store like, "Help me! I'm freaking out! They're out to kill me," etc. Upon the employees telling him to leave and that they were going to call the cops, Jack left the store and wandered down an interurban path that leads to the neighborhood surrounding the shopping area. At the end of the trail in this quiet neighborhood, Jack began freaking out. as one might do on an eighth of shrooms, half a bottle of whiskey, and probably 40 milligrams of Adderall. He must have been loud enough to wake up some homeowners because eventually a lady opened her door and called out to him. She asked if he needed help and wanted to come inside and use the phone. He reluctantly stepped into her house, where for some reason he went to climb the stairs, probably to go hide. Little did Jack know that this lady had a 4-year-old child upstairs. After telling him not to go up there, she reached up and grabbed him by the leg to pull him back down the stairs. It was here that I assume Jack, in his mushroom mind, thought this lady was trying to kill him. He did what any person fearing for his life and high as dragon nuts would do and proceeded to beat this lady within an inch of her life. Jesus Christ. He even took the landline phone cord and choked her out with it. Jack then stripped off his final piece of clothing, covered in this lady's blood, and began to walk home butt naked. He was picked up by a random person driving to work around 4 a.m. who kindly gave naked Jack a ride home. Around 7:30 a.m., police arrived at his house where they arrested Jack, still covered in this lady's blood. He was charged as an adult at 16 and did 5 years, 3 in state prison, for attempted murder, burglary, and a few other things. In prison, Jack found religion and dedicated a whole lot of his time to prison reform, specifically on how they deal with charging minors as adults. Jack is 24 or 25 now, engaged with a baby on the way. He has a great job as a welder, pipe fitter, and enjoys fishing the many rivers of Washington state. It's an odd way to look at things, but had this fucked up night never happened, there's a good chance that Jack would be homeless, addicted, or dead. I woke up to the news of this the next day fucking stunned and pissed off at the retards that spun him up and had him thinking I was on my way to fuck him up. They also dropped my name as the one who had the mushrooms, and I had to dodge detectives' phone calls for the next 9 months. Long story short, don't steal trippy drugs. Jesus Christ! That is a hell of a fucking story. But that's what mushrooms will do for you. That's why a bad trip isn't necessarily a bad trip. Like, that's a bad trip for Jackie, but in a strange, fucked up way that only the mushrooms know. It's what he needed. That's what the mushrooms do for you. They give you what you need, not what you want. I saw her today at the reception. A glass of wine in her hand. I knew she would meet her connection. At her feet was a footloose man. I say, no, you can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. But if you try sometime, you just might find, you get what you need. And I think that's what Jack got. He got what he fucking needed. That was a fucking great story. I love that story. I love that Jack is living a fucking good life now. Thanks for sending it in. Merry Christmas to all you cunts. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see ya the fuck later.